Contentment. When a nation follows the Tao, its horses are harnessed to plows. When a nation ignores the Tao, its horses are girded for war. There is no sin greater than desire. There is no misfortune greater than discomfort. There is no calamity greater than greed. To know the Tao is to know contentment. That is chapter 46 of the Tao Te Ching. And the takeaway lesson that I'd like to frame this around is the importance of finding peace along the way. We never arrive at better in a perfect sense. We only have the snapshots, and where we're at now is relative to where we're at before. But to arrive at better is actually an indication of the future, which isn't quite relevant. And that reminds me of a quote from Salvador Dali, which is, "Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it." And I don't think this is pithy. It's a fundamental truth. We can define better, we can seek better, but to desire better, to be discontent with our current circumstances, to be greedy, isn't value added. It's actually likely a limitation preventing the joy that's possible in each and every moment. To be content where we are is to already arrive at where we want to be. It sounds a little circular, but it's worth some time to think on that I'm not going to spend in this 5 minutes. A nation, the structure of how a nation is governed and built, following or ignoring the Tao, is in all circumstances each person ignoring or following. There are certainly rules and structures that get put into place that people become obligated to follow, and I'm going to get more into that in just a second. However, as a precursor to that, we are at all times both apart and together. How you personally can do this is the title of chapter 47, which we're going to get into tomorrow. Where I'd like to spend the last 2.5-3 minutes here is on the role of artists like Salvador Dali. Poor communication is a problem, in that expressing contentment, expressing what better means, expressing our joys, our frustrations, our greatest moments, our worst moments, basically explaining lived experience is always going to be difficult. However, great art is one of the more effective ways of communicating things that artists have found important, which in many cases, the reason that great art sticks is because it's expressing something that is unifying. And I recently had the chance to check out some of Dali's work. This is actually unrelated. I had written down next to chapter 46, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it," and happened to see these in St. Petersburg, Florida, last week. And I think this is particularly interesting because Dali had an obsession with bureaucrats. A number of his different works were focused around bureaucratic action and the temperament and role of a bureaucrat. Critics say that this is related to his father, who happened to be a bureaucrat, and he has a couple things in there, specifically bureaucrats with their heads empty, filled with seashells, crafting a liquid skull, a measure of death, into some shape as they're sitting, with their sock stirrups on. And there's something interesting here, which is to say when a nation follows the Tao, or when a nation ignores the Tao, is in many ways an expression of what happens when the people who are in charge of administering laws, the people who are the bureaucrats, the politicians, the leaders, how are they actually interacting with the idea of contentment? Many of them are locked into systems that are very rigid, very inflexible, and as a result, in many cases, they end up doing harm. This is certainly the case. I think Dali would argue this as we look at the rather insulting pictures of the way that he interacted with his father. There's maybe perhaps another argument to be made there about the type of person that is attracted to this type of work, but I'm certainly not willing to put that as a blanket statement over everyone who is attempting to work within the confines of a system. What I will point out is that contentment is important along the way, and finding a path to be happy in each and every moment while seeking to arrive at a better place is a skill. It's a practice. It's part of what Taoism points to, and many of these religious practices or just self-improvement practices generally suggest we do. Take a look at where we're at, appreciate it, while also looking toward the future.